Hello all my Kenvians and welcome to a new episode of Discovering Steven Universe. And, well, I guess the second in the line of two-parters that I'm going to be doing in order to try and catch up with the show by the time the new episodes come out on December 17th. I will say, even if I'm not able to actually get them out in time, which is unlikely, just because of, having to edit and everything, I will do my absolute best to, at the very least, make sure that I have recorded all of the episodes up to that point by the time the episode airs. And then I'll figure out what I'll do from there, because it'll be the first time I'll actually be caught up with the show before it's dead, other than Doctor Who. So yeah, we got that to look forward to. Anyway, today, gonna be watching Raising the Barn and Back to the Kindergarten. And I don't know what to expect. Raising the Barn, I assume that we're going to be going back out to the barn to see Peridot and Lapis. Who knows, maybe they will be there to comfort Steven, maybe sort of, tell some stories of Homeworld or something like that. Or Lapis may... I don't know what will happen with Lapis because she doesn't have good memories of anywhere, really. And then back to the kindergarten, well, I can only assume we're going to go back to with that. Must be first grade. Anyway, my attempts to be funny are falling short. Let's get right into it and begin Raising the Barn and Back to the Kindergarten.
She'll call when she's ready. For now, you just have to let go.
Let it go, let it go, don't hold it back anymore. Sorry.
Okay, universe, this is it.
Make sure who it is calling.
No expectations.
Check your phone first.
See what she needs to say.
It could be Lars again. Or not Lars. Oh, it's Peridot. I was going to say, or it could be Ronaldo again. Hi!
Hi, Peridot.
From Blue and Yellow Diamond?
Yes?
Peridot, we have to leave Earth now.
What?
Uh-oh.
I can't. I won't let my son get caught up in another war.
Yeah, that's
I
understandable.
want you to leave, but
They're installations.
Perry clearly doesn't want to go.
Of the barn. If we move them, they'll become performance pieces. It gets so emotional.
Oh, hello there. Raising the Barn. Ah,
Now we can bring our whole
I see.
barn with us. You, me,
onions?
Pumpkin would never associate with this inferior swarm.
ah, hi, Onion.
Onion? What are you... Hey, is that my hat?
You'll never find.
no. Why are you telling me this now?
Because we're about to leave.
Isn't that the worst time?
Yeah. Oh, well, there you go.
Then why didn't we tell?
Earth is our home now. Isn't it worth fighting for?
Yes. She's back in the bathroom. She's back in the bathroom.
Hey, you're all set up.
What do we do now?
Oh, wait, that's how they end the episode? Like, I knew it was near the end of the episode, but they end it with, what do we do now? Oh my god. Okay. Welcome to Season 5, where everyone is sad, everything is sad, and everything is horrible, and everyone is sad, including me. God! Oh, that's just is that maybe they did come up with a tagline for Season 5. Is it just something along those lines? Season 5, where everyone is sad, everything is bad, and everyone is leaving us? Because it kind of feels that way. I was like, at this point, Connie is not contacting Steven. Lapis just left behind Peridot and Pumpkin, and Lars is gone. Who knows? Well, I mean, I assume he'll show up again at some point since Steven can travel through Lion's Mane and all that, but God. Like, seriously, it just... What? Let me gather my thoughts here. So, man, this episode, it started out so promising. It seemed like it might be a little bit of a tonal shift, perhaps. But no, it starts out with, Peridot and Peridot and Lapis and Pumpkin checking in on Steven, making sure he's okay. And then as soon as it's mentioned that Steven is on the run, and hopefully the Diamonds don't know that he's gone, or no longer on Homeworld, is like, it takes a complete tonal shift. Lapis wants off the planet. Peridot clearly doesn't want to leave. It's... God, okay, I don't know how to gather my thoughts on this properly. I mean, I've touched on a lot of the main elements I wrote down. It's like Lapis and Peridot, the leaving? Leaving? Really? And the thing is, Lapis's reasons... they're understandable. And although I personally haven't experienced it, or I don't know it on a personal level, I would say most, if not all, if not at the very least most people with PTSD would be able to relate. The line she says at the very end, "I'm not getting caught in the middle of another war." Because the last time she was caught in the middle of it, I mean, she wasn't even fighting. She was just, like, a battle broke out. She was attacked apparently by Bismuth, or poofed by Bismuth. And then she was later taken in, and they put her into a mirror where she was just left. And it's like they kept trying to get answers from her because they thought that, or the Homeworlds thought that she was part of the Crystal Gems, even though she wasn't. And so she couldn't provide them any information. So, I mean, however long it was, 5,000 years? Is that the established number? For however long she was in that mirror. I mean, her PTSD, what she's experienced and what she continues to experience just with feelings, or even being on Earth, which is something that she came to terms with up to this point. It's... Again, while I don't have a personal reference for it, it's understandable. That's something like that where you've been through all of this. You were trapped and essentially tortured by Homeworld gems that the two of the main leaders of Homeworld will possibly want to come and attack and obliterate the planet. It's understandable that she would not want to be around. Well, that being said, there's Peridot's perspective on it. Well, Peridot and Pumpkin's perspective. Pumpkin, I mean, she's basically a dog. She's just an innocent little dog, but has enough understanding of what's going on, clearly, that she knows something is up. She knows that if they go along, that she will be leaving the Earth. The Earth is her home. The Earth is all that she's known. And the idea of leaving scares her. And then you take that, with her just hiding in the cornfields or in the crops, and then there's Peridot's perspective, which she she's been doing, from what I can tell, everything she can to make sure Lapis is happy, that Lapis doesn't have a reason to experience any relapses of her PTSD, regardless of whether Peridot identifies it as PTSD or something along those lines. It's like she knows that there are certain things that shouldn't be said. There are certain things that, you know, she can't really bring up because she doesn't want to hurt Lapis, who, you know, she's been through so much that she's basically trying to take Lapis's safety into her own hands, which can be detrimental because it doesn't help Lapis so much as it just keeps things peaceful, I guess. And then when Peridot brings us out to Lapis, and Lapis says that's lying, she's not wrong, but at the same time, it's not entirely accurate. There's a difference between lying and simply choosing your words wisely. I think that's the right way to put it. Now, I'm trying to think back. I don't think that Peridot really expressed any desire to actually leave. She wasn't speaking out against Lapis's plan to leave, but she, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I don't think that she actually said that it was a good idea that they should leave. And I may be wrong on that, and if so, I apologize. But yeah, I don't know, I got lost in my thoughts there, but it's a very delicate situation to try and balance there, because, I mean, Peridot has her way of communicating, which often is very literal. There's not a whole lot of nuance to how she communicates, typically. Although in this episode, there definitely seemed to be clear indication of her communication having more nuance, or even at the very least more subtext to what she's saying, whereas, at least from my perspective, Peridot typically doesn't have a whole lot of subtext. Whatever she's saying, she brings it right out and says it. And then there's Lapis, who, you know, like I've already mentioned, she has been through millennia of just isolation, loneliness, existing without being able to truly exist. And again, like I mentioned before, when she was put in the mirror and questioned by Homeworld, from what I can tell, that's very similar to torture for her. And I don't know, just like the communication there was a definite breakdown. And Lapis, she wants to be safe, and she wanted to protect herself and Peridot and Pumpkin. She wanted them to go with her. So when they don't, there's this very clear sign of sadness from that last glance that she lives before she takes off with the barn. And I mean, there's a whole lot I wanted to talk about as far as this episode goes, but I've kind of touched on most of them to some regard. I was going to bring up, onions, which was hilarious, but I don't know, I just feel like kind of talking about that too much takes away from what happened here in this episode. So yeah, that was Raising the Barn. And coming up next, back to the kindergarten. And hey, let's get right into it. So back to the kindergarten. I completely forgot to mention, too, before I finished the last portion there, but, like, the last thing that Peridot says at the end of the episode, it's so heartbreaking. Like, it's clear that she was sad, but it's just, it left this feeling of near hopelessness. And I don't know if that maybe came across while I was trying to talk about what I was talking about in the previous part of the video here. But God, again, it's like, this is the season of sadness. Anyway, continuing, Steven just turned off his alarm. Oh no! Perry!
Feeling any better?
Oh!
You can make us feel dumb by telling us all the stuff we don't know. I miss that.
Let's get out of the bathroom.
Can I bring my music?
No.
Now it's somewhere in space. Just let me know when we get there.
This season is sad.
Kindergarten.
All of the amethysts are gone. Hey! Oh, all the well-made amethysts are gone. Right here again. Not even this flower.
Wait, what?
Wait.
An interesting experiment.
Yeah!
Back to the kindergarten. Re-garden the kindergarten. This is gonna turn around and be sad, isn't it?
Hey, thanks for doing this with me.
What? Come on. It was fun.
Oh no! What? Whoa. Oh! Okay. Get this thing back. Gah. So what is it, a corrupted radish? She looks so annoyed. Oh. Hopefulness. Yes, thank you. I really like this outro music, by the way. Or the credits music, whatever. Oh, thank God, one episode ended on a happy note. Which, I mean, Jim Cation did too. But still, it's... Oh, but it was still full of sadness. Okay, so yeah, it's definitely a balancing act, which I guess going with the two episodes at a time thing really helps in that regard, because yeah, otherwise I would be like just super depressed at the end of one episode or one video, and then get a little bit of hopefulness at the end. But this way I get a little bit of both worlds, yin and yang. Maybe, I guess. But back to the kindergarten. That was like like Raising the Barn and the other episodes that have come before it. It is one big sign that this is the season of sadness, the season where everyone is sad, everything is bad, and everyone is falling into depression. Peridot has depression, Steven has anxiety and depression, which thankfully he seems to be coming out of to a degree, because I don't think they had him look at his phone even once in this episode, which is a good thing. At this point, he's just kind of waiting to hear back from Connie. But the prime focus of this episode was Peridot and her depression, and oh my God. Now, as someone who suffers from depression, oh God. Clearly it was exaggerated to a degree, but it is admittedly something that some people have experienced, which when they went into the bathroom at first and saw her just like hanging out of the tub / her bed and like just responding in mumbles, I mean, that's how depression makes you feel. And I don't know if they said how long has transpired between raising the barn and when Back to the Kindergarten started, but clearly enough, it's like, Peridot's just been in there sulking, depressed for a long while, and well, I'm not sure sulking's the right word, but hopefully you know what I mean there. And from that point, it's like the focus of the episode goes from simply being Peridot to trying to pull Peridot out of her depression. One way to say it is cheering up Peridot, but I'm not sure that's the right way to put it. It's one thing to try and cheer someone up, which depression usually keeps you from being able to do too much, and then helping Peridot find something new to do, something new that can make her happy, which, utilizing her ability to farm and grow crops, was plants in this at this point. Gardening, that's the word I'm trying to look for. Gardening, was a good source to go with that. And yeah, I will say, this episode really showed how insightful and cheekily conniving Amethyst can be. Like, usually Amethyst is just portrayed as the person who jokes around a lot, doesn't really take things seriously. But she really took charge in this episode and essentially made it her mission to help Peridot feel better. At the same time, help Steven feel better too, which, again, he's been working on that for however much time has transpired in the last few episodes. But she's... It was like, as soon as they got back to the kindergarten, she jumps into the holes, and there's this very exaggerated tone to what she's saying when she's talking about, the different holes and all this stuff. And then when Peridot starts chiming in, it's like, actually this and this. It's like Amethyst just has that sort of, fake astonishment, or maybe not fake, but, again, exaggerated astonishment about it. Just like, oh, really? And it just kind of snowballs from there, especially when they come across the plant / not plant that was growing there. Like, that was something that, like, any exaggeration in Amethyst's voice went away. It was like authentic astonishment. That, of course, led to Peridot trying to grow some flowers there, which I like the way that they did the episode. Part of me expected something to have been off when they got back to the kindergarten after having planted all those sunflowers. I think they were sunflowers. But I think what took me by surprise the most was the fact that they were just sucked dry. They were beyond wilted. They were ashen at that point, which I think the primarily implied implication there is that just the soil there, it takes away all life. It takes away nutrients and life to maybe try and focus it into the constitution of new gems, or however that works. So I think that's what's implied. Part of me also thought that maybe that corrupted beet gem or radish gem, whatever the heck it was, might have been absorbing the energy from those. I'm not entirely sure if either one can be confirmed, maybe both. I don't know. But yeah, that was just a really strange situation. But again, that does bring us to the corrupted gem in the situation there. And that one was unexpected, to say the least. Like, and I don't even know what kind of gem that might have been. Maybe if I look on the wiki, it'll give some information as to what that was, but even the gem when Smokey bubbled it kind of just resembled a root, or it's like a radish or something along those lines. So yeah, that was kind of weird, but an interesting monster all the same. And it presented a wonderful opportunity for Smoky Quartz to reappear. I was sad that she didn't have any spoken lines, but obviously when they have, you know, like certain celebrities or certain special people that occasionally voice these characters, they can't always have them around to voice the characters for them. So her not speaking sucked, but that aside, it was great to see Smoky Quartz, and she made quick work of that radish thing gem. And actually, I'm trying to think, obviously Garnet is a fusion, but I think that's the first time, like, a non-established main character, rather, a fusion that isn't Garnet has ever bubbled a gem. Now, there's a very good chance, especially since we're 5 seasons in, that I'm wrong there and it's happened and I just don't remember. But this is the first time I actually recall it happening. Again, when a fusion, that's not Garnet, has bubbled a gem, or a corrupted gem. So I thought that was rather interesting. And then, of course, when the corruption is defeated and Peridot is freed, it's just her perspective laying there on the ground. It was just so annoyed and frustrated. I mean, she was angry. Like, I think that may have been the angriest we have ever seen Peridot. Just unleashing her feelings about what all was going on. She lost Lapis. She tried at the kindergarten and it failed. Like, all of her plants died. Like, she just started going off. And it's more character growth on the part of Peridot that, you know, we didn't really see before. I feel like when I mentioned it in the previous episode that we didn't really used to get a lot of subtext from Peridot. I feel like that was part of her growing as a character and a person. And this was another step in that for her. Not only has she learned how to speak with some subtext, which, you know, she lost that a little bit, I think, at the end of the episode because she was explaining the subtext. But she unreservedly just unleashed her feelings. And, you know, Amethyst says, like, you know, don't be a jerk, but it's, I mean, depending on your perspective, it's like, you know, she may have been being kind of a jerk, but at the same time, she was venting, and that's necessary. It's important to, especially when you suffer from depression and things like that, and you often, like, personally feel stifled or that you don't want to open up and talk about certain things. It's important to be able to open up and communicate when the opportunity arises, when you personally feel that opportunity come, because, like, depression, depending on how severe it is, it's not going to let you, or it's going to fight against you and keep you from saying what you truly want to say. So I appreciate what they did with Peridot in this episode. And it didn't just make things better in the end. They didn't just, completely turn her around, which is so realistic. It's like things can, when you have depression, things that are different can help you feel better a little bit. They can help pull you out of that funk. But depression will always hit back. And so we end with this middle ground of sorts, with Peridot realizing that, yes, trying to grow plants back at the kindergarten may be a lost cause, but that's only one part of the earth, one small part of the earth, and the rest of it that isn't a city. But there's so much more of the earth that can be gardened, that is there for things for her to grow. And so while it hasn't pulled her completely out of her depression because of what all has happened, it brought her to this middle ground. It brought her to this stable point. And it was just perfectly expressed there when Steven and Amethyst were hugging Peridot, and then Peridot puts her arms around them. And it was this moment of hope and happiness that I wanted so bad. And I'm so glad it's there, because again, this is the episode, this is not the episode, this is the season of sadness. I think I'm just going to call it that. In my tags for the YouTube videos, I'm just going to start putting season of sadness. Or maybe when I post it on the social media, when I post the links for these videos, they're all going to have hashtag season of sadness on them. Why the heck not? Oh, but yeah, oh, and then one last point, the joke about the green thumb because she's green. That's adorable. I don't think it really counts as a pun, but it is, observational humor, and I enjoy that. So, raising the barn and back to the kindergarten. The further I get into this season, which I'm now 8 episodes in, this is going to hurt, isn't it? This is going to hurt. I'm honestly afraid of when I go to the next episodes, which, what are the names of the next episodes? Sadie Killer and Kevin Party. And there's a lot that I could guess as to the name of Sadie Killer. The first thing that comes to mind is, oh my god, is something going to happen to Sadie and she's going to die? I hope that's not the case, and I'm going to guess that's not the case because I'm hoping that the name is a misdirect. And then Kevin Party, which implies Kevin's going to be back. And I hate Kevin so much. So I'm not sure I'm ready for the rest of this season, let alone the next 2 episodes. But I'll be finding out what happens when I watch those anyway. So, everyone, please leave your comments. Well, leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Your thoughts on these 2 episodes, what I've had to say. As always, I apologize for all the rambling, and even when I'm taking notes, my inability to completely stay on topic and not ramble. It's just how I do. But thank you all so much for being here. I look forward to seeing your thoughts. I will do my best to comment back. I am so sorry that I haven't been able to really comment much in the previous episodes. As of the time I'm recording this, the past week was hectic and weird and crazy. So yeah, but before I go, just so you know, if you are interested in watching more episodes like this, Discovering Steven Universe, Discovering Doctor Who, and other shows, as I get them edited and uploaded to YouTube, if you like to get them ahead of time, before they go public, I can't talk, ADHD is not my friend, you can go to patreon.com/PapaKennMedia, and for as little as $1 a month, you can get early access to the episodes as soon as I get them uploaded. Anywhere from a day to possibly a week or more ahead of time before they go public on YouTube. And at that, it's probably time for me to take a bit of a break from recording because Clearly my ADHD is acting overtime. So, until next time everyone, for Sadie Killer and Kevin Party, I'm Papa Ken, and I will see you on the next episode of Discovering Steven Universe. See you then.